Remember to turn on all notifications so you don't miss a video. The real is back, the vil is back. Flow like bananas here, peel this back. Zanpakuto are an iconic power system in anime and manga. I want to use my unique analysis to assess the strengths, weaknesses, and potential of the power system. Zanpakuto's types are individual and universal. It is universal because everyone has a Zanpakuto with a spirit, a shikai, and potentially a bankai. Almost everyone has a unique command to unleash their shikai, and their bankai has an extended name. It is individual because each character has their own unique abilities for shikai and bankai. This individual is an inherited type, which means you don't get to choose. The only system I know that falls under individual and offers a choice is Nen from Hunter x Hunter. The first positive is the coolness of it. The concept of katana that can transform and get special abilities is epic. It's easy to have fun imagining your own powers. Then, the universal leveling up system is another cool addition. Everyone having the power to get an upgrade builds anticipation and excitement to see characters unleash theirs or finally unlock one. The individual type's strongest advantage is how creative it can get with the powers. Since Bleach has no logic for what is allowed as a power, like most individual types, this allows the story to get really creative. There are really good physical/martial arts shikai and good magical shikai. Physical/martial arts would be like Ikkaku and Renji. Their shikai don't give them a dangerous superpower, but instead change the type of weapon they have into something more dangerous than a regular katana. The way the fights use the intricate mechanics of their weapons is phenomenal. Then, there are magical shikai that have interesting powers and maybe interesting weaknesses. Examples would be Byakuya, Komamura, Kyoraku, Jushiro, and Soifon. The concept of true names was also cool. It was a logical setup for characters to gain power-ups. Yumijika was the first to show that if you use a fake name for shikai or bankai, you get a weaker version. This allowed Renji and Ichigo to learn the true names of their Zanpakuto to gain new bankai, and a new shikai too for Ichigo. The symbolism of Ichigo accepting his Zanpakuto as himself to unlock a new power is potent poetry. The first negative and only universal problem is how balanced the shikai are. Some characters have extremely powerful shikai like Byakuya, Yamamoto, and Kenpachi, while others have simple shikai like Renji, Ikkaku, Izuru, and Shuhei. This is unfair. The next negative is weak or useless shikai. I mentioned how Renji and Ikkaku get new weapons that change and improve their fighting style, but some Shinigami, like the Visored, have shikai that change their weapon into something equally dangerous as a katana, so it's a waste of a shikai. Examples would be Hiyori and Lisa. One gets a saw sword and the other gets a spear. The three Shinigami that Ichigo one-shotted after training have this issue too: Chojiro, Omaeda, and Isane. If I kept it 100, Ichigo's shikai is basically the same. It's a giant blade, but it doesn't actually have any special abilities or functions. Getsuga Tencho is not unique to Zangetsu. Kisuke taught it to him, and Ishin can use it too. Kenpachi falls under this too. He gets a giant sword as his shikai. You could argue that it's super strong, but couldn't he have exerted that kind of strength without it? Let's say he couldn't. This means that his shikai just gives him super strength. That's not creative, which is what I was complimenting the system for being. My next negative would be the confusion with Ichigo's shikai. It was already weird during Soul Society how he didn't have a sealed state, a sheath, or a shikai command. But then he gets his true Zangetsu, and apparently one of the blades is his sheath. Still no command. Then in the Breath from Hell one-shot, he has a giant sword again. Why do the fans have to directly ask Kubo to explain the sword for it to make sense? My next negative is the lack of cohesion some of these bankai have. I'm primarily looking at Kisuke. Kisuke's shikai allows him to use these red attacks, but his bankai allows him to use threads to heal people or alter and reconstruct the space around him. Isn't a bankai supposed to be a leveled up shikai? Tosin has the same issue. His shikai has two different abilities, but the primary one knocks out his opponent with sound. Then his bankai is a barrier that removes all senses but touch. You could argue that both of these include senses, but that's a reach. I could put Mayuri here too, but considering he's a scientist who has been said to modify his bankai at one point, his lack of cohesion could be a result of that. Throw Unohana in here too. Her shikai is like a manta ray, while her bankai is a blade of blood. They are still connected by the concept of healing, but very loosely. Their appearances are also still estranged. Next is questionable bankai. There are two types of questionability. The first is effectiveness. Renji goes from a segmented whip blade to a segmented whip puppet. He got a downgrade from sharp damage to blunt damage, but I guess now this weapon can't be nullified by being split apart, but the segments seem to be easier to break. You could argue that it can basically fire arrows, but in Bleach, that basically amounts to a punch. which is still blunt and inferior to blade damage. Komamura's Bankai basically makes him a larger target. Soifan goes from a weapon that will kill if the right conditions are met, minimum 2 hits, to a stationary weapon that might one-shot, but also might have a daily limit. It gives her more combat options, but Bankai are supposed to be superior to its Shikai. That is not the case here. The other type of questionability is in leveling up. There are some Bankai that function and appear too similar to their Shikai. Byakuya is my main example. I know he has different modes, but in its base state, his Bankai is basically the same as his Shikai. I guess it's stronger, but that's a weak power-up compared to characters who actually gain new abilities. Kenpachi falls under here too. His Bankai is literally just a stronger version of his Shikai. Yamamoto is a great example of how to level up. He has flames in his Shikai, but his Bankai isn't just bigger, badder flames. His fire does get stronger and is hyped up, but his focus is the 4 new abilities he gets, the main one being that his blade burns anything it touches out of existence. The last negative would be inferior clones. Some characters have a weaker version of someone else's Shikai. Yamamoto and Hinamori both have fire, and Toshiro and Rukia both have ice, but the captains have much superior versions and make the non-captains' Shikai look like crap by comparison. Additionally, when riding the weaker one, the rider is forced to limit themselves. Toshiro can do almost anything ice related, including water, but Rukia has to stick to freezing things so she doesn't overlap and look the same. A lot of my issues are minor and targeted at specific characters because this power system was pretty consistent since its introductory arc. After all, characters can't change their powers. The only untapped potential Zanpakuto has is missing Shikai and Bankai. Yoruichi, Ishin, Jushiro, and Aizen haven't revealed their Bankai. Yoruichi and 2 other visors haven't revealed their Shikai either. Overall, Zanpakuto is a great power system, with flaws that only apply to a few characters. The strongest weapon has to be Bankai, a universal upgrade that all Zanpakuto are capable of achieving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.